All set. Remove the statement on. Two. Welcome to the 10/19 meeting of the Lyman Planning Board. This meeting will come to order. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to an executive session, you have the right to hear everything that's being said and look at all the exhibits that are offered. If the board votes to go into executive session, you have the reason the same shall be stated. Please notify the chairman if you have a difficulty seeing or hearing this meeting is being recorded for YouTube. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinance or ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project, it will prepare a written opinion, which will be forwarded within 7 days. This board works from a prepared agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. Roll call determined for planning board quorum is present. Continued review of Vertex Towers, LLC. Continued preliminary review of Harper Residential Subdivision, Tax Map 3, Lot 87-3, and portion of Tax Map 3, Lot 87-2, Old Kennebunk Road. New business, start preliminary review of Brock Road Subdivision, Tax Map 1, Lot 12-1, Cluster Subdivision, 10 residential lots. Discuss the recommendations from Southern Maine Planning and Development. William and Ellie Johnson, 57 Oscar Littlefield Road, map 20, lot 27. Property owners are applying to demolish and rebuild the structure, same size, same location.
I think you got the wrong one.
Yeah, I do.
You do, yeah. October 19th.
Ah, I got the wrong one. I'm sorry.
Where's your official one? You should have had an official one.
Nope, that's the one I had right there for October 5th. I didn't look at it.
Sorry,
It's all right.
my fault.
All right, the appointments. The Brock Road subdivision, tax map 1, lot 12-1, cluster subdivision, 10 residential lots. Discuss recommendations of Southern Maine Planning and Developmental Commission. New business, Joshua Martino, map 1, lot 5, 331 Brock Road. Add high-quality cottages containing a bathroom, shower for short-term and seasonal rental only. Peter Nikiforakis, DBA headquarters, proposed amendment to Lyons medical marijuana ordinance, Article 12, to allow some kind of limited adult use marijuana. Minutes, audio, YouTube recordings of planning board public hearings and meetings available on town website. Review minutes of 10/5/22, planning board public hearing and meeting. Old business and mail. So, thank you.
Could we ask, are there people here from the Alfred Planning Board?
They were, but they
They
left.
aren't? Okay. Anybody from Alfred Fire or CEO or anything?
I don't think so.
They're all done? Okay, I just asked, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Call first one up here then.
You want to do the Johnsons or not?
Sure. Start with William and Ellie Johnson. Come on, guys.
Sit down.
Sure. one?
Is this one about the, West
This is
Side
about the
Pool?
camp, yes. So we went and looked at that, and it was it 51 feet from the water?
61 and a half.
61 and a half feet from the water. We measured there when you were there. We did a measurement on it.
And it was in line with one of the camps up there, and the other one was closer. So I really don't see where that could be moved back,
Well, also there's a septic,
right behind it.
That's right.
Right.
which actually is pretty new, isn't it?
Nice.
It's a nice looking,
Yeah.
well, I can't tell, I didn't look inside. It looks good from the outside. So, it's pretty locked in there, pretty well locked in.
I do have one copy of the pictures taken from the
Oh.
sidewalk, if you want to pass them around. You're welcome.
Look at that artistry.
Yeah, somebody took some great pictures, Joe.
Get the light just right.
They're beautiful.
And with your proposal to angle the structure a little bit, it seems like that will increase the distance from the water, from the point where we took the measurement.
Yeah,
You think so?
a little bit,
Yeah, I think it's just a little off center, I guess, yeah.
couple feet maybe.
Mhm.
I think they did survey, and they marked everything, so we can meet that requirement, whatever that was, yeah.
And that will still not be any more than the 61 and a half, I mean, any less than the 61 and a half feet from the water. The
I
new-
don't know the answer, but I think we can do that. Let's see why we can't, yeah.
Are you putting a full basement under that? or-
Yes, frost walls, everything, yeah, yeah. You need that for the space.
Can I read something from the shoreline zoning?
Mhm.
This is under section 12C3, I guess. And it just says, in determining whether the building relocation meets the setback to the greatest practical extent, the planning board or its designee shall consider the size of the lot, the slope of the land, the potential for soil erosion, the location of other structures on the soil, on the property, and on adjacent properties, location of the septic system and other on-site soils suitable for septic systems, the type and amount of vegetation to be removed to accomplish the relocation. And I think we said that your septic is directly behind the existing property.
That's correct.
And you're pretty much, even with a slight tilt, you're pretty much lined up with one of the properties there, or one of the buildings and one on an adjacent property. And there isn't a lot of room for you to go back, and we're not planning to take down any trees. I believe you
Correct,
commented on
yes.
that.
I think no vegetation should be
No vegetation.
impacted, yeah.
So anything that you do there, my feeling is that there's no, because the location that he proposed seems to me to meet the requirements of this part of the town of Lyman shoreline zoning ordinance. That'd be my comment.
Agree.
Shall I make that motion?
I would if I was you.
So moved.
I second that.
Could you make a motion that it can't be any closer than the 61?
Right.
Amend that
Yes.
to make a motion that the new foundation and building cannot be any closer than 61 and a half feet, which is the closest for the current
And that
building
includes
is,
eaves and overhangs.
including eaves and overhangs.
Yes.
So please don't put a big old porch on the front or something that sticks out 10 feet and gets you about 5 feet from the water or something.
Yeah, we're not, we don't
I'll
want
second
that.
that.
Yeah.
Second the amended motion.
Any discussion on it?
The footprint is the same.
Yes.
No larger than what you have right now.
That's right. And I think we still have the 30% expansion, whatever that means, but I think it's not been exercised on the
But
property.
you can only go back.
Yeah, not closer to the
You
water.
can't
yeah.
go to the water.
We don't want to go closer. You saw the giant pine tree. I love that
Yeah.
tree. I don't want that going anywhere.
Seems pretty straightforward to me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
All right.
so.
We have to write up, I'm not sure what we'll write up on this, maybe.
Well, they'll make a notice of decision.
Yeah.
And we'll sign it next
Brenda,
week.
And it will be, the motion will be in the minutes, and then, of course, he will apply for a building permit based on your findings.
So this should take care of it.
Do we have an application on this? You know, the application that we usually, we usually have the application,
I think we did submit a building permit
Right.
application.
the site plan
They
application.
originally applied for a site plan review, and I said, no, it was the best practical location. So generally, the building permit application is the catalyst for the best practical location. I've never seen an application for that. I did give you a checklist that, that you can go down through. I think you pretty much said it all in your dialogue.
Right, yeah, remember we vote on certain points, right? And then,
Yeah, we have-
Right, and I put that dialogue also on the, I think on the back of that form.
okay,
I'm sorry, this one here,
The green form,
slope of plan.
the green one, yeah.
Yep.
Julie color codes everything.
Makes it easy to find.
It does.
I think we've addressed each of these. Slope of land, potential soil erosion, location of other structures, location of the septic system, vegetation, in this case, not to be removed. And overhead electrical wires, we
Yeah.
mentioned that that's inconsequential. Okay.
So you'll be good and
All right.
towards the end of the week, next week, you can come get your notice of decision. Get your
Perfect.
permit and get started.
All right, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
You're
My
welcome.
takeaway is, closer than 61.5 feet.
Right.
That includes the eaves. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night.
Good luck with your project. Okay,
Get anything from Vertex Tower, Dawn?
nothing.
Nothing yet?
Mr. Gilmore, I don't see
Haven't heard a
him.
word.
Okay.
That, just for the record, that was the new or the recent application for a telecommunications tower, which is within 2 miles of one that's already been approved and construction has already started on that. So the applicant was offered the opportunity to provide more information. And we had some additional items we wanted him to submit, so we have not heard back from him. So I guess we'll just carry that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
So Harper Residential Subdivision.
Did you have any of these? Oh, you have one.
What?
You have one of those.
I do, I have
You can
some.
give one to Joe, maybe.
Why does it say false at the bottom?
I don't know. Just bring it just tonight. The paper just for you.
That's okay.
Love it.
Did you need one? Yes, absolutely. Anybody else want to look at it?
Brenda, do you want to talk about the road?
Barbara? About the road?
Yeah.
I would rather maybe Brad. Brad, do you have something to say?
Well, in light of what has just been presented to us about how Alfred has just presented us with, it looks like we own a substantial more amount of that road than anybody ever thought.
Oh,
So we feel that the developer, the engineer, needs to have a meeting with the Alfred board to present everything, and then they can talk to him about exactly what's happening with the road. It looks like, it appears to me from what we saw on the other map, that we probably own another 1,000 feet of that road
which way?
towards Autumn Glen. We own on the other side of Autumn,
When you say autumn, Glen, you mean towards Alfred or away from Alfred?
towards Alpha.
Oh, my.
It's on this map. If you see the orange line, that's the Lyman line.
Huh.
So where everybody thought that it was at that granite monument,
Yeah,
is not.
It's not.
So it actually extends all the way through the end of Autumn Lane and across the road diagonally out through. That's substantially more than what it was to begin with.
So does this make more of that road owned by the landowners beside it, or is the Tad Pat still considered active?
Well, this part right here is the part that's paved right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So the town would actually own all that now.
The paved part.
Yeah, it's that much more that we would have to upgrade now, or somebody would have to upgrade.
Yeah.
As opposed to what was initially talked about. Like I said, Alfred would have more information as they discussed, to shed more light on this.
So do we know if the road within Lyman was ever discontinued past the pavement?
It was, wasn't it, Brenda?
Yes, it
The
was.
attorney, the Board of Selectmen referred it to the town attorney, and he assured us that it has been discontinued, so went back to the county, which means evidently, from what I understand, is that the road then goes back to the abutters.
So I didn't, of course I didn't search everything. I searched in the registry of deeds to try to find that certificate of discontinuation, I think it's called, and I couldn't locate it. Would that be on the town records? town
Well-
files?
This is what, Julie, do you mind having this up? This is what the attorney sent to our Board of Selectmen, and the notes aren't legible, so I blew them up so you can read them, and then the map is there. I'm not exactly sure what that says.
She finally done, didn't she? Did you want one of these too? You. This is more to do.
1795.
Yeah, it's a old
Wow.
road.
see those three.
Some three roads.
So how does that fit into this?
Yeah. Is there a Waterhouse Lane?
Is that Clark one?
I'm wondering if that's Pig Farm Road now, is that the,
I know, I never could find Pig Farm Road.
I saw it on the map, but
No, I know, but
I
I mean,
wonder
look
if that's
for it.
what that is. I'm not sure.
Open your window.
I didn't even smell it either, so I don't know where it is. I didn't find it.
It's down the, the gravel road we're walking down.
Yeah,
If you go down there probably another 1,000 feet, it's on your left.
but is it an actual road?
It's a loosely a road,
Yes,
yes.
just a,
Very narrow gravel road.
and it goes over, does it go over to
I don't know if it connects all the way over to, is it Walker?
Walker Road?
I don't know if it connects all the way over there.
I mean, that's what, I think Google Maps shows it going to Walker Road, but I couldn't find it.
It
Right.
does, it's probably just a paper
It's on
road.
that. Little shop jag they just fixed.
Oh,
It looks like a driveway. You go down into that road, actually continues across the stream.
Oh, really?
At one time, I believe there was a mill in there.
Huh.
Dawson House?
Yes.
And these were the pictures taken at the site, walk. Very beautiful pictures too.
This piece here, what is that?
This is those pictures, not really help us.
No.
Thank you.
No? I'm kind of thinking we need to get the road thing straightened out.
Yeah, we're continuing, if it had been and if it was discontinued with a public or private easement, there's a number of options that towns can choose when they decide their roads.
As far as I know, the abutters own to the center line of that road.
Yep, or at least to, there's the this is the Rock Farm Estates revision that was approved back in, I think earlier, I guess it was last year, August of 2021.
Yeah.
So it shows, this shows the town line going through that granite post, which doesn't appear to be correct anymore. But on there, they have notes referencing Kennebunk Road, town discontinued in Lyman, private right of way, 4 rods wide. So I don't know exactly what that means. I've actually reached out to this surveyor to see what they have on it. I wasn't able to get a hold of them, but there appears to be some record that it was discontinued with a private, I assume, easement.
Now, with the owners of that land that would assume go to the center of that abandoned road, do their deeds reflect that, the current deeds?
Probably
Reflect-
not, because
Probably
they're,
not, right?
yeah, usually there's in the certificate of discontinuation, usually it lists, like, it goes reverse the center line and lists all the property owners and their book and page of their deeds, or maybe just the map and lots. And then it also lists whether it was terminated with like I said, a public or private easement, or how that was done.
Okay.
And that's a document that I couldn't locate in the
There's no
registry.
cross-reference between their deeds and that addendum or whatever it would be that would state that.
No, I guess if they did transfer the property since it was discontinued, and, there could be a deed that referenced it, but it doesn't have to. I think it happens somewhat automatically when they discontinue it.
Okay.
I think we really need to figure out the road before we proceed much further.
Yep, no, the road, and that's, that's a question I had. I reached out to is the road commissioner here? Yeah, I reached out to you to try to figure out what was done to that road, and if it has been discontinued, and where's the kind of documentation for that?
This is what our town attorney sent us, what we just have that passed out to you. This was given to us, I think, yesterday afternoon.
So I guess I don't necessarily understand what this is saying.
Yeah, I don't read.
There's no reference to a discontinuance.
He's doing more research on it to try to find some more.
Okay,
From what he's read so far, that it is a county road.
Okay.
So if it's a county road, then the county has jurisdiction over it, basically. We don't. That would prove that it would be discontinued, but he's looking for some actual print that states that. We don't have anything here in town hall, I know that.
Joe, I'm wondering, if maybe you can explain to the board why you need to know that. Does that change your plan somehow, or?
well, it depends a little bit if it was provided with an easement. If it wasn't provided with an easement, then it would revert to the road would revert to the center line. And it actually, that'd be unfortunate, because it would make some of these lots without actually any access to any frontage. Which would be the 2 existing lots here on Old Kennebunk Road, the one where the new house is being built, and the one next to it, and then also the Pig Farm Road, not Pig Farm, the Donkey Farm property there.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm curious if they extended an easement to the end of that pavement area, and then they potentially terminated it after that. I will say too that we have, after the site walk, we did talk with the gentleman, Tom, who does own the property at the Donkey Farm property. And he is willing to discuss with us of selling, if it did revert back to the center line, he would be willing to sell his portion of the former right-of-way to us, so that would have that access to to reuse the existing gravel road and obviously improve it to town standards. But because remember when we were out there with the sidewalk, I said there'd be kind of a parallel road next to this.
Mhm.
That would kind of eliminate that need.
Wow, okay.
I think one thing to determine is what the status of this Old Kennebunk Road is. The paved portion and the gravel portion.
So where does this stand with Alfred right now?
And I guess, and I say this with no disrespect, but since none of the project is in Alfred, I don't know what jurisdiction they would have over the project.
But
The impact they're gonna have on the roads.
Yeah, the other- I was just gonna point out, maybe our subdivision ordinances, regulations is a little unclear, but under Article 3, it gives subdivision approval criteria. And it goes down, and there's 23 criteria there. And 21 and 22, I'll just read them quickly. 21, impact on adjoining municipality. And it says, if the proposed subdivision crosses municipal boundaries, will not cause unreasonable traffic congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of public ways in an adjoining municipality in which part of the subdivision is located. Now, do I understand now that part of this is in Alfred?
No part of the project.
But, okay, but there would
But
be
to
an
get to it,
impact.
you have to go through Alfred.
Yes, that's right.
That's a very poor road.
And then then number 22, it says joint municipality meetings. Well, I'll just say what it says here. If any portion of the subdivision crosses municipal boundaries, all meetings and hearings to review the application shall be held jointly by the reviewing authorities in each municipality. In addition to other review criteria, the reviewing authorities shall consider and make a finding of fact regarding the impact on adjoining municipalities, and it refers to Title 38 MRS, it says MRSA, but I think it's MRS now, Section 4403. So if none of this is in Alfred, you could say these are not applicable, but I would say that in all fairness, it appears that all traffic leaving the subdivision has to go up through Alfred, and fire rescue, closest fire rescue is Alfred's right up the road on Kennebunk Road. And I don't know about schools, I don't know whether students from a subdivision in Lyman would go to the Alfred Elementary or would they go to the Lyman Elementary? Because Lyman Elementary is way
They
over
would
here.
probably go to Alfred and then
So I don't
Lyman
know.
would have to stay.
So I'm just saying that it seems like we ought to be sensitive to the impact on Alfred because neighboring town, and I don't know that we want to, I think their input should be considered.
And I have no problem with going to them and getting their input, but from a permitting standpoint, a regulatory standpoint, I don't know what jurisdiction legally they would have over the project. But I'm 100% comfortable with meeting with them and getting input from them and making sure that they're comfortable with the project as it stands.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't, I don't want anybody to think we're just saying, oh, it doesn't affect us, so, we'll just rush it through. That's not the case at all, at least not in my opinion anyway. So anyway, like you said.
And the Alfred Planning would like you to make an appointment with them to talk to them.
Okay.
About it.
I believe there was one member at the sidewalk.
Yes,
Yes,
they have contacted us and
we have, okay.
they would like to have an appointment made for you to go before their planning board to talk to them.
Sure.
We'd like to get the road straightened out, see if it's private or still an easement through it from town.
Yep.
And that's big on the subdivision. It's gonna change the roads one way or the other.
It could potentially, yes. And was the gentleman from Alfred there saying that the end of this road is maintained by Alfred, plowed and,
It was, but now they discovered that we own a lot more of the road than we used to, so I don't know what's gonna happen.
so where did, we don't know, where did this line come from? As opposed to.
They had a surveyor survey this a
Gotcha.
couple of years ago. Did you say Dana Libby?
I think it was Dana.
Yep.
Oh, because the line, so this plan I have is from Brock Farmer Estates, it's from Dana Libby. And his line has it going through the granite post there. And this is from 2021.
This is what they presented us and said that was the line. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about the
Okay.
discrepancy.
just should be reaching out to Dana Libby to get more information on the town line. That'd be the correct person.
I think we're kind of at a standstill until we get that fixed.
Yep, no, I agree. And I think too, assuming that there is easement or right of way, like you said, a little bit of time for us to get the documents together to show that we have at least a purchase and sale on that portion of the right of way for the abutter.
And what we can do is table you till you have the information.
Sure.
You can contact the CEO, make another appointment when you're ready.
I guess, is there anything else from the site walk that's
Well-
worth discussing? Or?
The input from this phone line, from the Southern Maine planning. We entertain that or listen to that.
We could,
There's no new input since the sidewalk from me.
okay.
So I wasn't at the sidewalk, so I don't have any further comments. I haven't seen any further plans or anything since the last meeting.
Was there any comments issued?
No, biggest thing we had was about the road and
And you have a copy of her comments.
Is it the one from the previous planning board meeting?
Yes, there's been nothing new for me on this project.
Yeah, you have that. There's nothing new.
The stormwater permit from DEP.
Yeah, all of that still stands.
so if you're good, when you're ready, contact us and we'll put you back on the schedule.
Thank you.
Now,
We heard nothing from Green Acres.
Yeah, I saw the applicant at the sidewalk, who happened to be there, so, anyway. And he indicated that he had been working on other activities and did not have any,
Okay.
he didn't, in other words, he hadn't told us what he wants to present.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant isn't here.
Yeah, right, so I'm not gonna say more.
Thank you.
Yeah, so no action, that's it.
No action is all that needs to be said here.
No action.
All right, so we got the Brock Road subdivision, the cluster subdivision. We got some info back on that.
Yeah, let's see.
Did you get a copy of this? No?
Yeah, that's Hannah's memo, right? Yep.
Yeah.
We have it.
You read through it?
Did, yes.
Did you have an application? I don't see an application.
We do. We just put together a sketch plan application, just relative information that we thought, you could use, in order to introduce the project. We're not going for preliminary plan yet. We're not quite there, but, we are asking for a few waivers,
Yeah, and
and clarifications.
we don't vote on any waivers until after a public hearing, until we've gone through the preliminary plan and
Okay.
get in towards the end.
Mhm.
So as far as your waivers, I can't tell you yes, no, or maybe.
Okay, do you think that we could spend a little time just discussing, why we're asking for them and, kind of some of the constraints that we've, had to deal with in putting together the initial layout?
I really don't feel comfortable with it because we don't have an application.
Guy, just, are you Kendra?
Yes, I am.
Julie, did you know who this is?
I did not. Hi, I'm Julie. Hi, I'm Kendra Renzel, Sebago Technics.
We chatted on email.
Yeah, it's on the preliminary, or whatever, I mean, the sketch, I guess.
And I'm here representing Josh Neeson from Neeson Property Services. is the owner of the piece of land, and he'll be the developer.
I don't know what anybody else feels or thinks,
We have, some information from Hannah
Right.
on this, so that should we go over that, or we would just go?
Maybe she could present it.
She could,
Information
Hannah's
from
here,
Hannah.
right?
I don't know if you want to, or you want to wait? She's here, but.
What do you guys want to do? You want to move the information? I mean,
Maybe a little overview of what you have in mind, not going into the specifics on the waiver request, but just allude to them.
Sure.
And then hear from Ms. Bonai. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a good plan.
Okay, so we're proposing 10 lots with a private right-of-way off of Brock Road.
Mhm.
This is a roughly 80-acre parcel with frontage on both Brock Road and South Waterboro Road. It has about 100 feet of frontage on South Waterboro Road, so it's just a small amount. This topography of the land, it's pretty hilly. It starts on the southern side at Brock Road, pretty high up. It's at elevation 390. And that side of things drains down to, and this portion of the stream is unnamed, but this stream flows to Shaker Pond eventually. And then the other portion of the subdivision, the large area of open space that we're proposing, it's almost 40 acres of open space. That drains from north to south toward the stream. So both sides are kind of coming down, and the stream bisects the property completely. So we are also proposing retained land for the owner on the backside of the open space. So he would have what I'm referring to as a back lot, but there's been a little bit of discussion I've had with Brenda on kind of the definition of a back lot, whether it would be called that or not. He has frontage on, like I said, South Waterboro Road, but he's not proposing to build a right-of-way into that developable area at this time. So
At this time.
at this time, I think it would be considered a back lot if it's gonna be considered retained land, and not part of the subdivision. So just a little clarification on that. We have mapped all of the wetlands on the entire site, and we've also done a vernal pool study. That was back in April of this year. There are 5 vernal pools on site. 4 of them are non-significant vernal pools. And one of them is what we call an indicator breeding area, which is, it's a man-made pool because it's a skidder rut. So Army Corps generally deems those non-jurisdictional, but it did have egg masses in it. So it's not significant, it's not even a vernal pool, it's an indicator breeding area. And all of those vernal pools are within the open space area that's going to be undeveloped. The entire stream is also within the open space area, as well as within 75 feet of the stream. So we wanted to preserve as much of the natural resources on the site as possible, and that's why they're proposed that way. I would like to, we don't have to discuss it, but I just want to talk about the FEMA flood zone because it's important for the project. Cluster, and Hannah can talk more about this, but basically cluster subdivisions are not allowed within FEMA flood map zones. The yellow line on the sketch plan that we provided is the current 100-year floodplain as mapped by FEMA in the 1950s, probably. So FEMA used mostly aerial topography at the time to draw those lines. And what we're showing in orange is would be the new floodplain line that has not currently been adopted by FEMA yet. There's debate on when that line will be adopted, but I wanted to show it for reference. And the subdivision that we're proposing is completely outside of that line. So I was hoping that we could move forward with the design under the assumption that eventually that floodplain line would be adopted as shown.
Where's the logic in that?
So, these are delineated lines by FEMA, the orange.
But you're saying you think that they'll adopt the new floodplain lines or whatever, but they haven't done it yet, but you want to move, how can you move forward on something that you think they're gonna do?
So what we're asking is, I guess it would be a waiver from the standard that a cluster lot subdivision can't be proposed here because of the current FEMA floodplain line.
Yeah.
And one more thing.
Yeah.
The stream that's shown, that line is 30 feet in some places above the elevation of the stream. It's a completely unrealistic line. It's there and it's adopted. But in a 100-year flood, that stream is probably gonna raise 2 feet or 3 feet. And it's 30, the line shown is 30 feet higher because we're on a very large hill. So I'd just like to note that, and I'd also like to note that there is a formal process that you can go through called a letter of map revision with FEMA in order to formally move the line, but we would have to perform a stream study, and we offer that as a service, but it's kind of an extensive study, and because it's extensive, it's expensive,
Who pays for that?
I would think it would be
the
the
client.
applicant.
No, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, I'm just
Yeah.
asking, it sounds like you say, well, we think FEMA's gonna do this, so we wanna go forward, and my thinking is, how do you know what
Yeah,
FEMA's gonna do?
Yeah, it's a proposed line and it has not been adopted. That is correct. It's not a matter of will it be, it's a matter of when will it be adopted. And what our question is would you allow a cluster lot subdivision within the current FEMA mapped flood zone with this information provided? And if
Sounds like maybe Brenda has a comment on that.
So I was just wondering if this is a subject that maybe Hannah can shed some light on, and this must be
It's a good
something.
idea.
That's what I thought.
I guess
Yeah.
so. Sure, I can
I'll
move down if you want.
Hello. So I don't have too much information on this, on the timeline or anything about when these maps would be adopted. FEMA is in the process of updating all of their maps. I want to say they were 1980 was when the current ones were done, but there's no real way to tell when the new ones are going to be adopted. From my search online, it didn't seem like it was geographically. Seems like they just kind of update whenever they feel like it. So there's no timeline of when.
I guess I'm having a hard time envisioning
Yeah.
why FEMA would be worried about this particular, this does not seem to be, would be a priority for them. If they got water coming into, places in Florida and other places, yeah, I wouldn't think in Maine. that
Most
this would be-
likely places that are at a different level of risk, coastlines, things like that are going to be the ones where they're updating the maps
I think so.
before the others. I can't say that for sure, but that would make the most sense logically to me.
Yeah,
But yeah, we have no sense as to when those new maps are going to come out. So technically, it would go against the ordinance to approve a project based on theoretical maps. I would say probably based on the topography, it does make sense to be requesting that, but as a planning board, I feel like it would just be going against your ordinance to approve that, at this point at least.
Well, I personally wouldn't vote to approve a waiver like that.
I don't see how you can. You don't know what FEMA's gonna do. I mean, not that I don't trust the federal government. Oh, yes, I do. Please, don't set my taxes. But anyway, how do you know? You don't know. You don't know. So I mean,
Yeah.
that seems like, I don't see how a planning board could, I'm
Yeah, I
not, we have to ask the lawyer, I guess, but
And
So-
it seems,
If I may,
it doesn't seem logical.
if you go through the process that you were discussing, the letter of map revision to FEMA, what's the timeline on that? What would be the expectation that FEMA would get back on that, no less revising the existing maps?
They do letter of map revisions all the time.
Okay.
Ah.
They are revised all the time, and this is a really obvious
What's the
mistake.
timeline?
I don't want to call it a mistake, but an oversight, I guess. I mean, there was a lack of information at the time that they were created, so it's understandable. But I don't know the exact timeline on getting an application like that approved. So I figured that you would all go this route. But what I would offer is that if we could move forward with the cluster lot subdivision and design under the condition that we have that letter of map revision from FEMA approved before the final subdivision plan is approved.
And that is a legal document, that letter revision
It
that
is, yes.
supersedes the current
Yeah, it's just
mapping
like
of
if
the
you
flood
were,
zone?
it's just, yes, exactly. It's just like if you were to apply for a permit from DEP, you're just applying for a permit from FEMA. We physically would go and we would do a study on the stream. We would tell them, based on our professional engineering opinions, where that line should be. And then they would move to officially adopt.
So basically,
The
you
letter
do the
of
work and they
approval.
take the credit.
Yes.
Sounds logical.
They actually don't charge a fee for letter of map revisions because we would be responsible
doing
for
all the work.
updating their information. That doesn't mean that it's not gonna cost poor Josh over here a bunch.
Go ahead, Brenda.
I'd just like to say that most generally, I've seen LOMAs done in the shoreline zone when a home is too close, so that they don't have to pay flood insurance. I don't think that I have ever seen an application that went for a LOMA that wasn't approved.
Yeah.
Almost always, and it's because it is old data, it's before there was specific instruments to measure this kind of thing. But then I've never seen the map adjusted either, so, but they.
Yeah, they
you
won't
get a letter
actually,
and-
they won't, you still look up a piece of property, on old FEMA maps and it's not gonna change there. But there will be a record that FEMA holds that says that it is a different line. And that is the line that would be shown on our plans.
I'm wondering if the
Forward.
board can proceed, and because it's going to take a while anyway, with the public hearings and everything that has to be done. And then maybe it'll be a condition towards the end that it would be contingent on either the line being approved or you actually get a LOMA. So you wouldn't have to be bogged down by this until,
And the other option is they could readjust their cluster subdivision,
well,
so they wouldn't need to do this.
they could.
And that way they'd have everything they need.
That's a point.
Good point.
That's a point.
I mean, we're gonna start something knowing we don't have all the information. It doesn't seem quite right.
All I'll say to that is I have done these stream studies before and the line shown is completely unrealistic. I mean, 30 feet higher than the bottom of the stream is not a realistic line.
Right, but it's there.
It's there, yeah.
Regardless whether you believe it's right or not, it's still there.
Yeah, it's just from a hydraulic perspective, from a topographic perspective, the line will be changed. It will be changed, I think, pretty easily. We can prove that. And I mean, their new line, which is just shown for reference, the orange on the plan, is completely outside of where we're proposing the cluster lot subdivision. So I was just hoping for a little bit of direction from the board, and we don't want to move forward with the roadway design and the stormwater design if there's no hope that you might approve this if we can get other permits approved. So,
Based on your degree of certainty here, it seems like the first thing to do is get the letter of application from FEMA and then proceed.
To me, that would make more sense. Then you have certainty that the line's where you want it to be.
You don't have to deal with the contingency until such time that FEMA does come through with it.
This is the government, big wheels turn slowly.
yeah, which is why I was hoping to move forward and do some of that extra legwork on the other side of things concurrently. Based on the
You're just
condition
trying
that
to
you
work-
wouldn't approve.
Sounds like you're trying to work in parallel, but I don't know if that's the right way to do it.
Well,
I mean,
it seems like step one is getting the FEMA approval for the letter of map revision. While that is in process, can't you still continue to do your planning, not necessarily present to us until such time that we get the FEMA okay?
yeah, I was hoping to go through the preliminary plan process.
Understood.
concurrently while we're doing this, and not go through the final plan process until we have
The problem here is,
gained
we have a time limit.
That's right.
between preliminary and final.
Yes.
And how long is that time limit?
It's in the ordinance.
Mhm.
It's in the,
45.
regulation.
Is it 45 days?
I believe so.
It's pretty, you're right, there's a time.
Between the date of the approved preliminary plan and the date of,
I think so.
And that's,
It's often somewhere between 30 and 60, but I think
Yeah.
that it can be, yeah, but somewhere between 30 and 60 is probably.
So if you had
So
the
then I-
line adjusted, then you could go through with it, and there would be no delays.
yeah.
Clock starts then.
Again, this is the government, you don't know how long it will take.
Yeah,
You're hoping
understood.
these 30 days, it might be 3 years. I mean,
So we could
Yeah.
move forward with design and just not submit preliminary until, so you're saying you would like us to have a letter of map revision from FEMA prior to
Correct.
submitting for the preliminary plan? Okay, and we can be designing and
yeah, so
doing
this
things,
is, this is the old.
before that, we have to do that anyway
So
for the
this-
preliminary plan submission.
Okay.
Could we, could we talk about, just the road frontage and the lot size,
Oh, yeah.
waivers? Because those will affect the subdivision layout and therefore the design. Hannah, I don't know if you want to start and then I can,
So I guess they requested waivers for the lot frontage, the maximum lot frontage and the maximum lot size. So in the cluster subdivision ordinance, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it calls for lot sizes between 43,000-ish and I believe about 55,000 square feet. And so there was a request for that maximum number to be waived to allow some of the lots to be larger than that, which I assume is based on topography of the lots, the layout of the lots, I guess. And then the other was similarly the lot frontage, asking for allowance for more lot frontage, which I assume is based on the current road and that such. At this point, since we haven't seen more plans than this, I don't have any formal recommendations on those. I will say though, there's a reason that the cluster ordinance calls for the smaller lots. Allowing a larger lot, even though I know the regular lot size is multiple acres, I don't remember exactly, it's like 5 acres. That's a big jump in between, but there's a reason that the 55,000 was set as the cluster. And straying from that then puts you closer to the regular orientation of the subdivision. It's not that much, but it is outside of the ordinance. So that's at the discretion of the board.
just to add to that, so with this piece of land, as I described from the southern side to the north where we're proposing the subdivision, we are on a very large hill. So essentially, when I designed the road and chose the alignment of the road, I picked one contour that wraps around the entire hill in order to reduce the disturbance and the amount of earthwork it's gonna take to construct the road. So if you look, I think it's elevation 300 that I'm hugging the side of the hill, so that on the left side of the road as you're driving in, we're gonna carve out, and then on the right side, we're gonna create fill. So that's why the road is where it is. And then I also tried to orient the lot so that the lot lines are perpendicular to the roadway, which I believe is mentioned in the ordinance that that's preferred. So when you add, these are difficult constraints. I mean, you have a 1 acre lot. You can only go to 55,000 acres, which is, 12,000 square feet more. Did I say acres? I'm sorry, square feet. Not 55,000 acres. But it's only 12,000 square feet more. So when you're moving these lot lines and you're making these little tweaks here and there, it's difficult to stay within that range and meet all the other constraints. So what we have proposed is, and the other piece of this is that there's a 75-foot setback from the road. From the road to, the front setback is 75 feet off the road we're proposing. There's a 75-foot setback that's external to the entire subdivision. So you've got 75 feet in the front, 75 feet in the back of most of these lots. And then you have 40 feet, I believe, on each side. So the way that the road is placed and the way that the lots are shown, those building envelopes are significantly reduced by your setbacks. Without creating these long kind of spaghetti lots, it was hard just on 3 lots to meet, because we're asking for a waiver on 3 lots for the maximum size. So that would be lots 4, 5, and 6 are the 3 that are over. The biggest being lot 5 at almost 80,000. So it's 1.3 acres as compared to the minimum lot size, which is 1. But as you can see, that building envelope, which is shown in the lighter green, is very narrow. So I just wanted to describe the types of constraints that we're working with. And also with the curve of the road the way it is, that's why we requested the longer road frontage on 4 lots. The lots were 2, 3, 4, and 10. Those lots are placed on curves. So we're over 200, none of them are, I don't believe any of them exceed 250 feet of road frontage. And as Hannah mentioned, on 3 lots, we are asking that they're larger, but this is the general purpose district, it's a rural area.
Mhm.
I personally feel like a larger lot, a slightly larger lot in this case, is more in keeping with the general rural feel of this area. That is all.
You make some good points, but we're supposed to follow the ordinance as written. I mean, maybe there's a reason for waivers, maybe not. I mean, sounds like you're asking for waivers because of basically the orientation of the site. In other words, you're using a chunk of the site, right?
Yeah, we put the entire cluster subdivision in this area because we wanted to avoid any impact to the stream at all.
But that's your decision based on the topography of the area that you're working with.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So you're trying to put in, looks like, 10 lots here?
Mhm.
But you're not meeting some of the requirements for cluster. I mean, I can see why you would want to, I mean, the advantage in cluster is that you can put in more lots. Because as you mentioned, this is general purpose district, which is a 5-acre lot minimum currently in the ordinance, and you wouldn't be able to get 10 lots of 5 acres on this property. Would you?
We would be able to get over 10 lots on the entire property, but there would be a lot more impact to natural resources if that were the case.
Brenda?
I believe that the applicant is required to also provide a regular subdivision plan to compare. I wonder if this would be a good time to ask for that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's for the preliminary submission, and we have that actually already done.
That?
Yeah.
Oh. well, that'd be
But I
interesting.
didn't provide it because we just wanted more information.
Yeah.
Moving forward on some of these assumptions that we've made as drawn.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm just saying that, we have the ordinance or the subdivision regulations are written and approved, and you're asking for waivers or changes or variations. And I'm just saying that there's got to be a pretty good reason for that, otherwise,
Hannah?
why not?
Yeah, I just had a clarification on the cluster discussion. The cluster ordinance should read that you're not allowed to put more lots
Mhm.
on this plot of land than you would with a traditional subdivision layout.
Correct,
Right.
that's
So
how it
based on
reads.
however they would calculate the net density, they cannot put more lots in this small space than they could have if they had gone with a traditional subdivision layout.
Right.
But they
So
can put
they are
less.
smaller, they can fit more lots right here, but they could, aside from, the stream and all that kind of stuff, with this large plot of land, put way more than 10 lots
Many
probably
more
on this
than
land.
10
So
lots,
yeah,
yeah.
the cluster subdivision just doesn't allow them to add more. lots.
Coming
Do you
in
remember how
with
many
a
lots we
plan,
had proposed with the
Yeah.
full
it should
build
be
out?
close to what we're asking for.
Oh, yeah, that
I
was just
mean-
a clarification on that.
Good point. Good point. Yeah,
I mean,
I think we need more information. I mean, seems to me.
More
In the sense that you
Information.
should proceed in trying to get your FEMA business squared away and then maybe justify why you want to vary from the
Ordinance.
ordinance as written, or subdivision regulations as written. I mean,
Okay,
I'm not saying it's not a good idea, I'm just saying that just because you want to do it doesn't mean it should be approved. Because it's not accordance, we're supposed to follow the ordinance or the regulation that's written unless if there's a place for waivers, there's got to be a documented reason for anybody to vote for a waiver. You can't just say, well, it sounds like a good idea, let's do it. I mean, you got to have some justification.
Yeah, understandable. We did provide a cover letter that described everything that we've discussed tonight and the different waivers that we're asking for, and why we weren't, the reason for why we are not meeting those standards.
Okay.
Well, I get the
without,
impression you're looking for approval. or
no,
something.
I
mean,
we get
completely
started.
understand that.
Right, I mean, that's the impression I'm getting from you.
No, I understand that you can't vote on a waiver. I just wanted to have a discussion about it, get a general feel for the nature of the project, and see if we need to make changes to what's proposed, or if we can move forward under the assumption that that these are reasonable requests.
Do you have an
I'm not-
alternate to sign? Do you have an alternate
We
to
do
sign?
not, no, we
Do not.
just, we have
This
a
is
full
the
build out.
only-
Yes, this is
option that
just,
you
it's
have.
just a sketch.
I think you should try to make this as close to the ordinance as you can. I mean,
In
you're
that
the planning
case,
stages now.
sure,
Yeah, no, you haven't broken any ground yet, you haven't moved any dirt, have you?
No.
So it's all the work you've done has been on paper so far, correct?
yeah.
Cheaper to do it on paper than it is to start moving dirt.
What this the changes we will likely make is we will probably propose small pockets of open space.
Mhm.
The issue with that, and we did explore that actually, if you look at, sorry, I'm flying blind because my laptop died, but, if you look at the back of lots, like 4 and 5, thank you. Yeah, lots 3, 4, and 5, and would be lot 6. We could propose open space at the very top of the hill, on the back of those lots, then the lot sizes would meet the ordinance. That didn't make a ton of sense to me, because then you have an area of open space that's not really usable for people or accessible. So that's the only reason I didn't go there. But we definitely can, and we can also, change the lot line in the back of lot 6 to include more open space to reduce that to 55,000 square feet. So actually, the lot size is less of an issue than the small amount of linear road footage that we're asking for a waiver from the maximum. So we do have other options.
Well, you could
So
always
you're
put
talking
a,
frontage, right?
I mean, I'm not saying you want to do this, but if you put the open space behind certain lots, you could put a right of way or something, or a path. that
Yeah, and
people could go there if they wanted. I'm not saying they want to, but I mean, there's possibilities. Anyway, there's lots of things you could do.
Yeah, we would probably propose an easement between 2 lots,
Right.
just so that there is a means of access to that small pocket of open space. It is possible.
I mean, that's in the shoreline. You see that all the time where people have a joint or a common beach area.
Yep.
And there's an easement, so owners, property owners that have access to that, they have deeded access, they have a way to get down there.
Mhm.
So there's possibilities to do that.
Yes, certainly.
Okay, where are we?
I think that, sorry, that was all except for, the, wetland that's shown on, lot 3. So that is an isolated wetland, and you have, in the ordinance, there's a 100-foot, setback on all wetlands. So that, as you can see, the pink line around the wetland area would completely take out lots 2, 3, and 4. Under the state's rules, we could fill that wetland. It's 4,000 square feet. We wouldn't have to fill all of it, but that would just be a permit by rule through Maine DEP. Those are generally submitted, they're reviewed in 2 weeks, and they give you your permit because it's such a small amount of wetland fill. So we can either do that, or what I was asking was to reduce the setback on that wetland in order to preserve it. So we could pin the wetland and make the buildable area for lot 2 a reduced setback from that wetland and preserve the wetland itself rather than filling it, entirely eliminating the 100-foot setback. That makes sense.
What about 3?
3?
Lot
Lot three.
Is the
So-
wetlands inside that pink line?
Yeah, the wetland is the dashed line, the smallest circle within that area. Sorry, I forgot to show your plan.
It spans 3 lots, so
Yeah, it's big. I mean, it's
2, 3, and 4.
Dang lot.
So the
You
wetland
have to draw-
itself
It's
is
a
mostly
circle
on
around it.
lot
It's a tiny
3,
little-
but the buffer, the
Oh,
You
setback.
have to draw a 100-foot
It's
circle on
100
it.
Okay,
feet.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So
Is it the
I
dotted
can
line?
legally
Is it
fill it, but we're asking.
The wetland
to
itself
line
is the
for it
dotted
just a
line,
little bit
Ah.
instead of
but
filling in.
the 100-foot setback, which
Oh,
is what
that's-
you have
I
to
see.
comply
Oh.
with, is the
Now
line.
I got it,
Yeah, we
okay.
just
Right,
shift
so it
that.
essentially
Yeah.
eliminates the entirety of
Yeah.
lot
I
3.
Any of it, just
But
stay
the
away.
wetland, a lot of it's,
Or I can pull the permit.
it covers up a good part of the lot 3, the wetland does.
Essentially, what we're saying is that from a state perspective and legally, that wetland could be entirely filled with a permit by rule. And you could build anywhere within the buildable areas, and the 100-foot setback on that wetland would not exist anymore.
Right.
What we were offering was to reduce the setback and preserve the wetland and put the house in front of the wetland.
Oh.
Well, the former would be a legal way of doing it, the latter would be against our ordinance.
Unless a waiver was granted, but
Right.
yes,
But, I mean, it's difficult for us to grant a waiver when there's an alternate way of doing things.
Yeah.
Usually.
understand, but we can go for a PBR.
It is, saving wetlands is,
That was
it is
the,
important.
that was the
Yeah,
intent,
it
was
is.
to
Yeah.
reduce the impact,
Instead of just getting a $50 permit.
filling it in, yeah.
Does somebody want to buy a lot with a wetland on it? I mean, right,
It won't be a wetland after a $50 permit.
I'm saying, if I were buying lot
It's
3,
gone.
somehow I don't think I'd want to have a wetland right back of my lot, but maybe some people would like that.
Oh, you're saying if we went the alternative and you granted a waiver, yeah.
Anyway,
Okay,
It's not.
well, since we aren't discussing it, is there anything more we're going to discuss?
were there any questions on the application we did submit, that we haven't talked about? Sorry for taking up so much of your time.
But we didn't have, you didn't submit an application yet, right?
No.
Right,
Just an intro.
just, right, you list the points.
Yep.
This is the one free
Yeah.
meeting.
Good way.
All right, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for sharing.
Your turn.
Okay.
Thank you, Hannah.
Martino's?
Thanks a lot.
What the hell?
Brenda's got a question.
Go ahead, Brian.
Could I just say that, it's Joe, right?
Josh.
Josh, sorry. Josh and I met out at the site, and this is very preliminary. It's really more of a conceptual. We'd kind of like to discuss with you what he'd like to do. I asked for some paperwork from him, but there's a lot more to it. So I asked him to come forward, and then maybe you can more or less tell him what you're looking for, because it's kind of a different concept that he has.
Ah,
Oh, explain away.
Okay, all right. So we bought a property, it's got about 32 acres behind it. Some of it's in Waterboro, but we're not planning anything that far back. We just want to put in some dog-friendly cabins, but higher quality, more like a tiny home, kitchenette, bathroom, shower, that sort of thing. So it would need a septic and, obviously electricity running out there and everything else.
Huh.
A lot of emphasis on being dog friendly. I want people to be able to.
So, can I ask you a question? Are these cabins to be rented out? Or
Yeah, it's just seasonal,
Rental.
temporary, just for coming.
kind of like a
weekend
campground or?
campground-ish, but like higher quality cabins. They're not gonna be, either more closer to like the quality of a tiny home, like an actual home, like a 600 square foot house,
Well, I was just trying to figure out if this is gonna fall like under campgrounds or putting all these little cabins there, gonna fall under a subdivision,
A motel, hotel,
a motel, yeah.
I mean, it's still gonna be our property. Nobody's staying there
Sounds
long
like
term.
glamping to me.
Yeah,
Glamping,
basically.
high class camping,
right.
Yeah,
Ah,
Well,
that's kind of what it sounds
We
like.
don't have that
Still can't- I know.
category though,
Yeah.
not used to, though.
it would be
I don't
closest
think
to camping, I would imagine, but with a higher quality.
In very short-term rentals
Yeah.
this season.
Year round,
Just seasonal. We just want to do it during the summer,
okay.
so no one's gonna be staying there permanently. Going for the weekend, things like that. We only want to start with a single cabin to get the ball rolling. We're not looking for the entire project to be approved right now. Down the road, we want to put in some other items like doggy daycare, so that you can come and stay, leave your dogs with us and head wherever you need to go. It's not dog friendly. Maybe even really far, and it's a big maybe, like a hall, people could, like
Like a function
a
hall.
function hall, after we've had all of the cabins filled, maybe adding a function hall in at the very end.
Would you entertain campers and people that rent your cabin? Could they also have a camper there? Are you thinking of that too?
Well, we're still debating on that because right now it's just a footpath. It's semi-wide because ATVs have been going down it, and we're trying to keep the land as intact as possible. I have a feeling more than likely we're gonna have to pave at least a little bit so that people can get their cars down there. But I was thinking more of a parking area out front or on the side and a wagon to kind of tow, your stuff for the weekend in with you. Like I'm with this place, Hutopia. It's this Canadian glamping thing. And that's basically what they did. They had this large parking area and all of these wagons readily available, and you just load your stuff in and haul it to your site. At least certainly in the beginning, that's all we would want. Later on, maybe we put in a small parking lot or even maybe just an actual paved trail leading to each of the cabins. Still kind of feeling it out, see what makes the most sense.
Now, is this in the general purpose zone?
Yes. There's actually a campground across the street from us. It's not being used as a campground anymore, but that was originally what it was.
But it sounds like you want to do this in phases.
Yes, very much so. Just one cabin, and then later on, I'll come in with more cabins, more than likely.
Can we prove that is it? I thought you had a year to start and 2 years to finish.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
you
like
have
right now,
maps.
it's just you looking for approval for a single cabin.
Well, then when you say so it was a big success, you had a demand and you came back, you want to put in 5 more.
Yeah.
You have to come back here again?
Yep.
For another
So,
bite of the
yeah.
apple?
That's why sometimes it's best if you go for a max,
Yeah.
have a max number.
Then he has a
Yeah.
time limit to figure.
Build
Yeah.
He's got
Yeah.
2 years to do it.
Yeah,
Probably
2
wouldn't.
years.
I'm hoping to do most of the labor myself, so a dozen cabins in 2 years.
This could be a 10-year project.
I honestly, that's my picture,
Yeah.
we're trying to take on as little debt as possible.
Right, I'm
Pull
with
it out
that.
of his pocket, and keep it very minimal, working with family and that sort of thing to get a lot of this done, so, yeah.
Well, even with the 2-year limit, I mean, if
I could
You
go for
decide-
4 or something,
right.
Yeah.
for now.
because otherwise, if you go for 1, then you have to come back here.
Yeah,
To reapply.
and
You
pay
can
each
Go through
time I
the
come in.
process again.
So you plan on putting a septic system on each one? A
Yeah,
central
yeah.
septic system?
It depends. I want to talk to a plumber and, decide what the best, my original plan currently is to get one cabin with its own septic and tie into our existing well for water. So they would have a very small scale, but then later on, I think we'd probably cluster it using a slightly larger septic for a cluster of 4 cabins. And then we move down the path a little, and put in another septic for another 4 cabins, or something like that. whatever a plumber would recommend.
So what was the name of the Canadian location that you mentioned?
Hytopia.
It's Utopia, Huttopia, and it's in Sanford.
They have one, yeah, they have one in Sanford. We went to the one in the White Mountains and stayed there. It was nice.
Ah, very nice guy.
Oh, it was very nice. It was like they had a built platform, and that's sort of what we want to do. We don't want to do any cement blocks to build on. We want to just build up a platform. They had a yurt built on it, but they had pre-built a bathroom into it already, and then built the yurt around it. And so the fabric built around it, and even had a little kitchenette inside, and they had propane burners outside so you could cook and in a fire and all that sort of thing.
Didn't one of our other properties have a yurt on it?
Mhm.
Not our properties. but-
And do you reside on this property?
Yeah.
So you'd be, this would be another principle, another use,
Hmm,
right?
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, how does it work if if they applied for four, like he said, and the 2 years expires? Is there an extension, or would you have to come back and start all over?
I believe you could come back before the board and ask for an extension. And he'd probably just have to give us a reason why and.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I think 4 within 2 years, I think it's reasonable. I don't think it's, unrealistic, so. Yeah, I'd probably go for something like that. And then next time I'd come back would probably be for the dog and daycare at that point.
My question is, how do we classify it?
Hmm.
I mean,
Yes.
it's more of a campground than,
Yeah, it's more of a campground than anything
It has
else.
plumbing,
and it does have plumbing.
right? Plumbing, I mean, they are buildings with plumbing.
Right, so it's kind of
So
like a
almost like a
subdivision.
hotel, like motel.
I'm wondering if it would be beneficial at all to maybe contact Sanford and find out how
Yeah.
they processed it, just to give you an
That's a good
Not that
idea.
we
Really
need
good
copies,
See how they classify it there. Yeah.
How they dealt with it. That might give you a direction of how you
Right.
want to go.
Because you're gonna have electricity there also, so it's like what you would do in a dwelling unit.
Do you
It's a
think
dwelling
maybe
unit.
you or Julie could do that?
I think we could. Julie's looking the other way, but
Oh,
Yeah, we go to-
Oh, me? You're talking about me?
I'm looking at the big spider that's, that's what the ceiling right here, actually.
I know her email address, so.
Unfortunately, I taught it to you quickly.
Well, it might be, yeah, I think, because we do have some possible categories, but.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is something you're going to see more of this type of.
Because, I
That's
mean,
true.
you could call it a subdivision because it's gonna be, they're small houses,
Right,
But seasonal and part-time, I mean seasonal.
but they're still houses.
they're dwelling units, yeah.
Or you can go to the campground, I mean, I'm not sure how you would
Categorize it.
categorize it. I mean, it'll make a big difference on
Yeah.
how it goes.
It
Well, let's
depends
see if
on
I
our
can find this.
interpretation. I'm sorry,
Um,
our definition for campgrounds goes, a business establishment operated by as a recreational site for tents, trailers, recreational vehicles, or other forms of temporary shelter.
Nice.
This might qualify as a
So
other form of temporary
I'll
shelter.
put you into a campground category.
As long as it's being used temporarily.
Let's just say seasonal,
Yeah, absolutely.
short term.
Nothing during
But-
winter.
If you're running them out year round, now you're getting into another category.
True.
I mean,
Right,
I'd
but
be
he's
fine with that being
classifying
a
season.
stipulation, because we were never planning on running
Yeah.
it through the winter anyway, so.
Temporary shelter. Okay, so where do we go from here?
So you want to talk to Sanford, right?
How do they categorize it?
Yeah, I think the best way would be a campground, but again, we should talk to Sanford and find out.
Right, yeah, so that's a good idea, I think, to find out how Sanford classified
Let's
that.
do some research, and in the meantime, maybe they can get on paper,
Mhm.
you know, what the first phase is
Right.
going to be.
Yeah.
They'll definitely at some point need to get a soils designer out there to to design a septic system.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be the first, you know, you're gonna wanna know what lighting will be like. You know, Marcel may have a voice in that. So there's a lot to be done.
And these cabins gonna have power too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you may need a separate service. You wouldn't be running off your home
Right.
service, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
So what maybe after we do some research and, get a little bit of direction on how this is going and what, I'm sure it will be by the next meeting, but, and then in the meantime, the Martinos can get a little more on paper.
Yeah, well, I mean, whatever you want on paper, I just,
Yeah.
I have a survey from the 80s, you know, but there is a survey already done. They even digitized it and using like SketchUp. So I don't, you know, I don't know what other requirements you guys want from me. I did a list of the abutters and that sort of thing. I have it on the map and a list of all their names and addresses and things like that. So I'm, yeah, whatever you guys want from me, I'm more than happy to come up with.
And this is on land that hasn't been cleared yet, right? So
Nothing has been
nothing's-
cleared. There's
nothing's
a
been built on
pathway
that.
going back,
Yeah.
you know, but that's it. It's just like an ATV path.
Mhm. So you need a pretty good design on that.
Yeah.
It's fresh land.
I did map it out myself, but I don't know if you're gonna want like a professional surveyor to come in or not, you know. But I just went out there. with
That's
a-
preferable, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I went out there with a compass.
Especially where
and
it's a
very
business-
long-
where it's a
Usually that, we have a
business.
topographical show you, you know,
I think you're gonna need a professional surveyor.
then you got to show where you wanna put your cabins on.
Yeah.
Then, you know, then you gotta make sure we have enough of a water source for 4 cabins.
Mhm.
Soil test for septic.
I mean, we could probably give them a copy of the checklist and you can probably just like look it over and you can figure out what you need
I
Yeah.
will do
from that.
So, yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think I know, I think I've looked at one of them and knocked a few of them off, but whatever
Yeah.
else.
But like I said, that'll tell you everything you need.
Mhm.
In the meantime, we'll try to figure out what to classify it as. and
Yeah.
We'll go from there. But I actually think if you did have something like that, it would do pretty good.
Yeah,
That
sounds like a good
Very
concept.
needed.
That's, you know, we were always looking for a place to take the dogs. We just couldn't, you know, there's just nowhere to go. You can't bring your dogs
True.
with you.
That's a big demand for
Especially
that.
like really, I want to keep things as intact as possible. So just being in the woods with your dogs is, you know, nearly impossible out here. So I want to make it available.
So we'll figure it out and you can get a copy of the checklist and
Yep.
Yeah.
try to get your stuff ready. and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is this? Yeah, there's Peter, see here, he's not here.
Nick Park, right? I don't see him. But we do have an ordinance review committee, and if they want the ordinance changed, it should go through the ordinance review committee.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that.
Or a citizen's initiative, if he wants to go get petition.
And the other thing is, the town did vote on this at one time, and they didn't want
Was that a
recreational
vote?
marijuana.
That's right.
They didn't
Yes,
want
it was.
retail.
They didn't want retail.
That was voted down one time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by like 14 people.
Oh, it's close.
There was there was like a 14. So they can go to the ordinance committee and it really should go up for another vote.
So the town would have to opt in first.
Yep.
We have not opted into
Adult use.
adult use
That's right.
marijuana. So that would have to happen first before I think we could
And that goes
entertain
to a
any kind.
townwide vote, correct?
Right. We have to opt in
I
first.
did advise, I'm not an applicant, the property owner, that there was 3 ways to get something on an, you know,
Right.
to get an ordinance change, and it was planning board, citizens,
Initiative.
initiative, or I believe, the Board of Selectmen, so I
Right.
thought, start with you. If you thought you have no interest in it whatsoever, then they'll know that. That's pretty much what this is.
Well, seeing that
This
we
is
tried
kind of
to,
beyond us because it was a town vote and the town voted no. And as Cecile said, they would have to opt in, so it would have to go on a ballot to be voted on again.
to opt in before we could even adjust the
Oh
ordinance
my goodness.
to put in any detail in
Yeah,
there
it's
as
not
to
just
where we
simple.
want to allow it and.
So do you want us just to notify this person that, there's layers to it? It's not as
Yes.
simple as an ordinance change and.
Yep.
That really falls back in their court. I mean, would it be, a citizen's initiative to opt in? Is that, to get on the?
Yes, it would be, I would
To get on the
believe
warrant?
it would
To
be a
get on the
citizen's
warrant.
initiative to opt into the warrant.
Okay, so that'd be the first step.
Well,
because-
that's one way. I mean, in theory, this gentleman could go to the ordinance review committee once it gets up and running and propose this, I
No,
guess.
that's
But
true.
the town still hasn't opted into
Still
it.
hasn't
Right,
been
right,
opted
but
in.
it would still have to go to a vote, town. vote,
Right.
Yeah.
Then it would go to the ordinance review committee.
Oh, I see your point, I see your point.
Yeah, we can
can't put
modify
the cart
that.
before the horse.
So if
Yeah.
they did that and the
Yeah.
town didn't opt in, then it's all.
It's all
Waste of
done.
Right,
time.
it'd be a waste of time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That is, I'm pretty sure that's a state law. that The town has to.
The town does have to opt in.
Yeah, so you're right. So there's really nothing for us to do until the town would opt in and say, yeah, we think it's a great idea, or not, and then get on with it. And then the ordinance would come secondary.
I will advise them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Oh,
okay.
Julie.
Did you lose my email address?
No. We want you to come back tomorrow, Julie.
I don't have enough hours in the day to come back.
Get some minutes.
Yeah, we have minutes.
But
Come on, Ron. There should be a copy of the last
There are two,
planning board
Oh,
meeting.
right.
September 21 and October 5th,
Yeah,
right?
the 21st was the public hearing.
Yeah, I got-
Yeah, but I
Yes.
still had the last meetings.
Brenda interrupted me.
Oh, know what it was? I wasn't here at the last meeting.
That's
And you
right.
probably saw the purple thing.
And left it there. I
I
need
didn't
to
have it.
alternate colors.
I didn't have the other
Yeah, you'll have to.
stuff they
alternate.
submitted either.
This says draft on
That was.
21st,
Oh,
That's,
public hearing.
yep,
Is there?
Ron has the official to be signed one that has the draft not on it.
Okay,
I had him clipped to the front of his file to start with.
okay.
yeah. Well, I haven't left this chair.
All right, so I have, I made 2 copies. This is the public hearing one. To be signed, names on the back. So, let me see if I can find the other one too. I think I made copies of that one.
I got the October 5th one here.
But is it a draft or the plain?
It's plain. It's plain.
Yeah, that doesn't
Should have
say
said
that.
draft.
It doesn't.
Yeah, mine doesn't either.
Well, Rod needs one of those so that he can sign.
Yeah, I got a couple of minor, maybe changes we can make to that, do it in writing probably.
Yep,
Here
if
we
you want to
go.
write on it.
He's got it
I
right there.
found them.
Good job. I was told it would be impossible to keep you guys organized. Just saying.
This one says draft. Okay, did everybody get to read the public hearing minutes for September 21st, 2022?
Yes.
Any questions, comments?
No, I don't have.
I'm still reading them. Because I think, these weren't emailed to us, I don't think.
No, they weren't.
No, that
Okay.
was
That's
a lot
my
of work.
fault. I gotta take the blame.
That's all right, yeah. Usually we try to read them before we get here so we can approve them.
Julie kept asking me to look them over and I didn't until this afternoon, so.
Well,
My
yeah, I
fault.
think the minutes, the public hearing minutes are probably okay. I read.
Um,
Can make it my change.
It's just that after the questions that were posed about Mr. Bullier's logging enterprise. At the very end of that, it goes into the Lyman zoning ordinance amendment proposal. And it kind of seems, the way it's presented, that it has some connection to the last question of Bullier.
That should be removed, I saw that.
Okay, just knock that out altogether.
That's my fault,
Okay,
yeah.
so.
But that was a public, well, that was a public hearing though, wasn't it?
But
Wasn't that part of the public
There's a
hearing?
last paragraph that doesn't belong there, I
Yeah.
think.
This one right here.
Oh.
Just scratch that.
And I noticed that.
And your name was spelled wrong, Joe.
J-O-E.
I didn't tell you it was on.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll go fix that. Can I borrow that? I'll go fix that and give you a new copy.
Okay.
Do you have keys?
Thank you.
It's not ENR, is it?
Wagoner.
Are you sure?
Big G.
And this
I've
is
seen it around.
Oh.
All right, did everybody get to read the planning board meeting minutes for October 5th, 2022?
I'd like to make, I'd like to make two changes in writing. I can put ink on there. Oh, under appointments of Vertex Towers, it says he was offered I would like to make that read, applicant was offered the opportunity to provide any additional info as to da 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 da. Because the way it reads now, it says he was offered to provide, it doesn't read, it's not logical to me. Maybe just-
So applicant was offered the opportunity.
Yeah, I can do that pen here, if you want me.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And then-
Instead of he, is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, instead of saying he, I just would write in the word applicant.
Applicant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it.
Were you there for this?
Not October 5th, no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't I take your clean copy and mark it up like this?
Okay.
And just say, over here, wait a minute, no, wait, where are we?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm gonna change he to applicant, is that okay?
Yep.
Was offered the opportunity to provide, is that okay?
Yep.
And I make a motion to accept the planning board meeting minutes of October 5th, 2022 as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved, I'll sign up 10/19/22.
And did everybody get to read the September 21st, 2022 planning board meeting minutes?
Thanks,
I think we did that last week.
we did that one.
I
You
think
did
you
that?
did
We did that one last
I
week.
think it's just because
You weren't
it's
here.
still in your
So
packet.
Yeah,
we approved it and signed.
Yeah.
things
I
were
had
approved without you.
extras to lose.
Things were approved without you.
It's good.
So now it's just the last meetings, the October 5th.
He did it with, they did it with
Just
the
did it.
change, and,
Just minor change.
John marked a copy for you, so you know the
Well,
change.
You'll get the original.
I don't think so.
Okay, we got that. And then.
In-house here.
Did we sign the other ones or not? Or was
There's
that,
only one, right?
no, what about the public hearing meeting minutes of September 21st?
Oh,
Where's that?
yeah, that,
That should be that one right there.
Do we vote on that?
I thought we did, but
We did?
uh,
Vote again.
Vote again. I make a motion that we approve the public hearing meeting minutes of September 21st, 2022 as amended.
Second,
All in favor?
Oh, yes.
Well,
yes,
Paragraph.
aye.
remove that paragraph.
Okay. Just let me do it.
Did we vote?
We
Yeah,
did.
we did.
Oh,
So we're kind of waiting for information from everybody
Yep.
to come back, so I guess we'll leave it open. If somebody gets their information, we'll put them on to the next meeting.
You were
Right,
here.
and if we don't get any information when we put it on the agenda, we'll just say no action because
Yep.
there is no action.
are you talking about,
Everything, you're waiting for everything.
oh, yeah, okay, yeah, right, you're absolutely right.
Except for Johnson,
No, they're
they're all
done,
set.
they're completed, Johnson's already, that's good. Finish something anyway.
You finished
I think
Johnson, yes, you
Johnson's
did.
is good for the time.
Absolutely.
So who signs that notice of decision? Does-
Either I sign it or Cecile does, and
Okay,
I can't get up here before you close, so Cecile usually does.
okay. So
However,
Julie will let you know when it's ready.
okay,
Yeah,
however, I am not going to be here for the next meeting, November, first one is because I'm going to be away.
good for you.
So I'm leaving Tuesday, so if the notice of decision, actually, I'm leaving Monday
Well,
afternoon, so it would have to be
I
Monday
can come
morning.
up, either that or I can come up Friday and sign it.
Okay. Oh, this
Right.
Friday, yeah, this week is fine,
Right.
but which would leave tomorrow.
We can do that.
Tomorrow or Monday morning,
Okay.
I'd be available, otherwise Rod would have to,
We'll find one of you.
okay,
The next meeting is November 2nd, right?
November
Yeah.
2nd, yeah.
We have
And-
Oh,
Mr. Thomas.
Oh, yes.
Jim Thomas.
Oh,
Yep.
is gonna-
Yeah, so you
Oh,
missed that,
About the
yeah,
maps.
yeah.
Good.
I'm gonna miss that.
and you know, I said today, I think it was maybe with Rod, we were talking about subdivisions, and I said, if someone comes in for a building permit, how do I know it's a subdivision? And I mean, sometimes I pick it up because they need to be sprinkled. And we talked about maps that we're talking about, you can do an overlay, so when that comes up, it will be a different color, so it shows me it's in a subdivision.
That'll be great, yeah.
We have no sidewalk scheduled, or we have no public hearing scheduled, correct?
No, I think no one's ready for a public hearing.
I did make a list, I don't know if everybody saw it with the different ordinances that you worked with and
Yes.
tried to come up with the most recent one, because they're all in the computer and they're all named the same thing. I have to open them up and see what the date is, so I think, and one person responded and told me what I was missing.
No, but I don't think you were, I thought that what you sent out was accurate.
No, well, I didn't have the street, there was a street.
Oh, the street
Street
ordinance, yeah.
ordinance.
So I
Yeah.
did pull that up, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
everybody does an inventory of what they've got.
Okay,
to
yeah, I've
make
got
sure
mine.
that
Mine are
You
all-
did yours and you're good,
Yep.
Yeah,
and we gotta find, I think Bill's missing the street thing.
I've got it now.
Yeah, you got it? Yeah.
but it's funny,
Isn't
mine,
she great?
Do we have an extra copy of that 74 acre cluster subdivision?
Which one? The,
Because I weren't here and I didn't get a copy of that.
You didn't get the
The,
Brockville one?
no, the other one I think is Hopper.
Hopper,
Hopper's a 70.
Hopper or Brock?
Brock
one
is
with the
32
cluster.
acres.
well,
Oh,
Brock.
that's
Oh,
Brock.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that I have the most current version
So I
of
was
the
looking
ordinance,
through
because
this,
Oh,
I'm-
yeah,
I
yeah,
have,
yeah.
I have,
Just
my
put in
cover
sort of a
page
letter.
says that, and then I have this one below that
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
that wasn't signed, and it says June 8th, so I don't know if it was a
Oh,
preliminary.
this is what
The
I,
date you gave me, I found one later.
That's
but I
not it,
thought,
is
What
it?
if it was worked on and just never.
No, this is
I said, like, But I understand
The one
today,
where
I
they-
didn't know this, but I can go.
we're
home.
talking
That's
about all
what-
the
and she
waivers.
keeps the most recent
I didn't have that.
Okay.
As
I was
counselor.
glad to get
Yes.
So I thought, I'll make sure that, what we've
It
done.
wasn't
I gotta find
Because it can make a difference.
That's all right, I mean.
Right, because we might have amended it, but it may not have been voted in.
That's what I was afraid of.
I have
because
too many
The
papers.
names
Well, that's
said
what
it was
happens.
amended,
Hey, Rod,
but the
Question.
page didn't.
Didn't
on the
say,
Brock
yeah.
Road, when they were talking about the size of the lot, to make them smaller, is there any reason they can't pull the back line of the lot in to make it
That's what
smaller?
I'm
So it
thinking,
fits?
yeah.
Right.
They could.
I mean, that would be the logical
Did you
thing.
get one of those?
I did
I
know
did.
on page 41 of your subdivision, there was, they talked about waivers.
Um,
Yeah.
And if you determine that it's in the public good, there's a lot you can waiver, so.
I do have one for
Awesome,
you.
thank you.
You can have my original.
That would create open space back there, which you'd have to access.
Well, no, because that abuts on the, if you're looking at the side towards the open area, it
Yeah.
would just increase the open area size a little bit.
Oh, I
Because
see
it
your
was the
point.
back line there,
You could.
you know, and then on the other side, just go down the back of all the lots and make it a open space.
Are you adjourned? So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can shut that down.
Yeah, and actually, we shouldn't keep this,
Do you have any questions? You can sit back.
okay,
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we close the meeting.
these are,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Close the meeting.
I'd just like to say for everybody who leaves, what a great job Julie's doing. She has no background in land use and she's just picking it up like that. She's great at
She-
organizing.
she really is,
She's
yeah,
been
I know
pretty
just
amazing.
the way
She's been
she's
here, what, a
organizing our
month?
papers and everything.
And Brendan, thank you for the material on
The LD.
2003.
Has everybody had that? Do you want me to make copies, paper copies?
I've got a copy. Is it somebody sent it to me?
By
By
2003.
email. I
Yeah.
think you did.
Email, yeah.
2003.
I'm so efficient, I don't even know it.
I just haven't read it yet.
But I didn't know if you want hard copy. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's like 20 pages, but
It's,
It's gonna keep you on this review committee busy.
Should
it's not a final document
send-
though.
Well, I got this, it's called Moose Chatter, and all of these CEOs, every day I
Oh,
get
God.
20, there's someone bring up a question, and they just, but that came in and said, this is the latest and greatest, so I wondered if there was a vote taken or something. It didn't say there was, it just said, this one's the latest and greatest. So I compared it to the one we had, just to see if it was different, and it looked the same.
Looks the same,
I
yeah.
think